is this guy who is talking about, a tree grows in both directions. So its root system is going into the ground, and it's uh, it's a tree. The fruits are growing outside the ground. So basically, the tree is doing. I mean, the real thing is underground, which is not visible. Correct. So that's the topic. Is basically it's saying that unless there is a groundwork, the fruits won't appear by itself. So for anything to come out, appear in the in the world, I mean, whatever you see, the person must have to do a you know real groundwork. Same thing, right? In in spirituality also, a lot of work, effort, time goes into it before we see the results. So this work, it's again, it's not about some attaining some peace or even some esoteric, conscious states which normally we think of, but it should make us whole as a personality in all the directions, whether it's our character, whether it's our thinking, whether it's our, what should I say, approach to life. So when we start shining from that inside, right? So that there is a total transformation, transformation of a personality into what is called love. So the love and devotion kind of sort of go together. When love reaches its perfection, it reaches what is called devotion, right? So in so when we talk about love, we talk about as if that love is towards someone. There is always two personalities. We bring another personality into the scenario when we talk about love and devotion. But the love is to reach a state of its perfection. The love reaches its state of its perfection. Only we become that. Right? So, but in love, suppose, like for example, I can claim that I love my spiritual teacher. Then the question is why? Why? Because so I see some value in it. I see some value in that person. I mean, value in the sense, of, in the context of what am I getting in that association. So it's a very transaction based sort of. So that's why the love cannot reach its perfection. When this transaction is removed, then what happens is both the the lover and the beloved both disappear from from the situation. Then what remains is only the pure love, where there is no, what should I say, giving and taking. There is no reciprocation. There is no expectation. And such love becomes a true devotion. So that love has to reach that perfection. That's why it becomes a noun at that point, because the mind is disappearing in that situation. So there is no giving and taking. There is no expectation. There is no value add. We are not looking at it. I mean, there is no expectation from the other person, nor from yourself. So that's why, even towards the God, the true devotion, we can reach only when this transaction disappears from our mind, right? Have you seen this, Varsha? You're talking on mute.
Oh, would you call gratitude a transaction?
Again, in gratitude also, gratitude for what? So gratitude is the beginning of love, the perfection. It's only a
Or
first
take
step.
me on my spiritual journey. If there's gratitude, I don't see that as a transaction. I see that as just, I'm not expecting anything from my master. But he's giving it to me and I know it. That's gratitude.
So you see that there is some giving is there. There is
I'm
some, yeah. So gratitude is the beginning of love, true love. So that's why it's a step: gratitude, love, and devotion. See, I don't know how many of you watched this movie. Uh, what was that? The the Shangri-La. This guy. Suddenly, I forgot the movie name. It was the Colombian's first picture in 1930. Frank Carpa. Do you guys recall the name? Anyways, The Lost Horizon is a wonderful book. If you get a chance, you read it. Otherwise, watch the movie. And then again, they remade that movie sometime in '60s, but I like the older version, Lost Horizon. So in that, they go into this Shangri-La. Shangri-La is typically a Tibetan heaven, right? So where the people don't age. So these two brothers somehow gain access into it. They are taken over there, and this brother falls in love with a woman, and he asks her how old is she, and she says she's 300 years old. But somehow, so these brothers convince that lady to come out of Shangri-La so that they can live happily and together. So when these three people come out of Shangri-La, that lady turns into a very old woman. Until she was in Shangri-La, she was young looking, beautiful. And suddenly she turns old. And this brother, who is in love with her, looks at her and goes crazy. Right? See, there, you are seeing, that kind of a love is certain, you're looking for certain value in it. It's mostly physical, correct? So there, there is a certain anticipation, expectation. And how suddenly, I mean, she confessed to him that she's 300 years old, right? But suddenly, what changed?
his attitude.
His attitude towards that relationship. So, when it is not any, this attitude, when it is not going towards the ennoblement, right? I mean, first, of course, it has to start with somewhere with some gratitude, because you have to see some value in there. And slowly we transcend in that relationship. So this transcending is called spirituality. Until then, we are practicing spirituality. That's a fundamental difference there. So right now we are practicing spirituality until we see this transcendence. So once we transcend, then the only objective of the practice is to refine that state. Constantly you are refining that state. So yesterday, like I was at villages, and like there's another trainer who gave a meditation session, and then the we kind of sitting on a round table and discussing. So one lady asked me, "What is my idea of meditation?" I said, "You are asking the fish in the water how does the water feels like." So I said, because now your whole existence depend on it. You cannot be a fish out of the water. It cannot survive. It cannot think about that situation. So now it becomes almost your existential uh, idea. It's not just a practice. It's not just meditating half hour, feeling about it. Not all those things. It will you will transcend. And once you are transcended, now it's not anymore about peace, calmness, all these general ideas. Like what should I say? The stereotype of ideas of meditation will not come into your mind at all. Or did I experience peace in my meditation today? That's not what we are looking for. Then we are only looking for refining that deep state more and more and more and more. You get absorbed into it completely.
Yeah.
So that's the place where we want to be in this spiritual approach. So even in one of the books, in one of the statements, Babuji said, this is some of this philosophy also emerged from the Middle Eastern culture, the Sufism. There in Sufism, the greatest love is about they compare it with the moth. When the fire is lit in this cold deserts, all the moths to fly towards this fire, and they get immolated, they get burnt in the fire. And they say the moth knows that it's going to die, it's going to get burnt in the fire, but still its attraction, it feels so compulsive to go near the fire. So they compare that compulsiveness as love, true love. And Babaji said, I want those moths who can immolate themselves in the cold fire, means no fire. You know. So what does that mean? Cold fire, no fire. How can a moth immolate itself in no fire? That means we have created this fire. This here, the fire is the teacher himself, the spiritual teacher. Oh, Daji is so great. He hear all the stories from people. Or he can just flip a book and read the book. He can get the entire content of the book. Or things like that. We mystify the teachers. And why are we mystifying it? Because we're creating that fire. We are justifying our being here. We do it like that. Without our knowledge, we do it. Oh, you look at him, what a beautiful smile. Some people wrote, oh, you look into Babaji's eyes, you feel as if you are looking into the infinity. Things like this. These are all, we are lighting the fire so that we can get attracted towards it. But can I be the same person without all this, mystical attributes about the teacher? Can I treat this teacher as myself at the same level and still have the same reverence? And someone was talking about reverence in our last session, I believe. Can we still have the same affection, love, or can I make him as mine? Can he become mine totally, and I become his totally, without any expectations? So that is what is called immolating yourself in the no fire. Otherwise, we are creating this fire, and we fall victims to our own fire which we have created. That's why you see any so-called great masters of the past, you will see all these mystical stories. Oh, they did this, they walked on fire, they walked in the sky, they walked above the clouds, nothing, so many things you hear. Why? Because without that fire, we cannot approach that highest teacher. So then we kind of, it's all mental projections. That's what we live in. We create our own illusion and we are proud about it. Instead of going to the reality, we create our own illusion. So that's why I think the true approach to the spiritual life is connect with your inner essence, transcend it. Transcending means refining that condition, work on it, work upon ourselves. Get to this, understand this approach, our goal, our purpose of the practice. We don't have to spend too much time. We don't have to leave our lives, careers to do this. But do it in a small way every day. Look
I
at
have
that
a
up.
question here, brother.
Yes.
So, the mental projection you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes mental projections or the mystical aspect of it, sometimes it may not be a very intense one, like flying in the clouds, but it could be an experience you have had or which you created yourself during your meditation. I am at lack of an example, but I think like that, would it be a hindrance to your spiritual progress, or as you keep meditating, you will just overcome all that and actually go towards the real?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So, we go through so many experiences. Just like, you see a beautiful scenery if you're traveling in a car. Let's say you're going to Atlanta. You get attracted to that beautiful, scenic drive, but you don't stop at the scenic drive, correct? Forever.
Right.
You keep moving.
Mhm.
So that experience disappears as you move. When there is something new always ahead of you. If I'm stuck on that experience, I keep talking about it for the rest of my life, I'm stuck there.
Okay, that is the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
People, I have seen people talk about their experiences after experiences after experiences. You go and talk to them for next 1 hour, they bore you with their experiences. Or
So
they
just
talk, they're name dropping. Master
right.
told me this, master said this to me. Oh, he asked me, how are you? And he asked me, you are wearing a beautiful dress. things like that.
Mhm.
And that's all, you're caught up in that. These are all the fires we are creating. When are you going to get out of it? See the real thing, talk about something real, feel something real. Otherwise, you are stuck in the name dropping. Now, again, the people who are next to the master becomes the masters. You know, you give them unnecessary attention. So these are all the things we need to come out.
So as long as we are not stuck to them, just acknowledge and let them go is fine.
Yeah. So all experiences is just on the way, en route. The sooner you leave them is the better.
Right.
Okay. All right. So it's almost 20 minutes past. Let's get into meditation now.